I teach them the standards. That's what they hired me to do. But if by the time they leave my classroom, if they're a little more confident, a little more curious, a little more like compassionate, then I did my job.
Welcome to the Tea On, where we sip tea and we talk about things, preferably things that matter. You actually have tea, and I respect that because a lot of people are just like, I'm not drinking tea, so thank you for doing that. It means they're all same. I'm doing some green tea because I'm still waking up, honestly, truthfully.
I'm actually drinking coffee, but
Smooth. It's fine, but there's a teacup involved, you know.
Exactly. I was like, I gotta go refill real quick.
It means the world to me. But yes, on the show we like to talk about things that matter, and I think this conversation is one that matters so much, especially in the current climate and what life is right now. And I wouldn't want to have it with anyone as bright of a light as you. I know you as Marissa Hernandez, but many of your students may know you as Miss Hernandez, which is kind of a giveaway of what we're going to talk about right now, which is what being a teacher and being an educator is like in the modern day. So before I get into anything, I would love for you to introduce yourself and let the people know, who you are and how you've gotten where you are.
Of course. Hi, everybody. My name is Marissa. As Jazmin said, my students know me as Miss Hernandez, sometimes as Miss H, when writing now, because it's a long name to write for them. I teach kindergarten. This is my second year in kindergarten. I've also worked all throughout elementary grades. I was a TA at one point in middle school before I decided which path I was going to take for that. And I teach out here in California, Northern California, and I love it. I absolutely love what I do, and my students they mean the world to me.
That's so, and you know what? So you run an Instagram called Wholehearted Teaching, yes, which I think just pours so much light into what it means to be a teacher. It's such a beautiful space for someone to go and see somebody who I think it's so obvious that you love what you do, which is why I wanted to talk to you, because I think somebody who is in their flow like that and someone who is really dedicating their life to something that brings them so much passion, A, deserves recognition, but B, I think is especially admirable in a society that I think is making it not the easiest to be a teacher and not valuing teachers. And so I want to shed some light on that and talk about that. But first and foremost, being a teacher right now, especially the young kids that are so formidable in the future right now, in 2020, what has been the most difficult thing for you to navigate?
I would say the most difficult thing in 2020 especially, we've been thrown so many new curveballs to work with. Right. At the beginning of 2020, when we were finishing up and going into that spring semester, COVID-19 took over and it changed everybody's lives so drastically. And I remember we weren't on our spring break yet at that point. And we had made the decision, our school made the decision that we were going to just keep going. We were going to figure it out and roll with it. So we kind of had a weekend to get our ideas together and our plan together about how we were going to go virtual. Right. And it was just such a change. And we had to adapt a lot. Plans were changing every other moment. There was confusion. There was questions. There was a whole lot of, what am I doing right now? Okay, let me record myself. How do I do this? And then just over the summer, that, trying to enjoy it, but then also feeling what should I be doing? How can I get ready for what we don't know yet? And just now too, I feel like there's definitely a little bit more of a foundation. We have more that we're going off of, but there's still just so much uncertainty. And then with the climate of everything going on, just making sure that my lessons and what I'm teaching them at this grade level is applicable and in something that they can understand and apply and use to become compassionate little human beings.
That's so beautiful. Just keeping them at the core of it, and not letting the stress and the anxiety of what's also uncertain cloud everything, I think is so beautiful. And, I think it's also important to know that there is no right or wrong way to navigate this. I think every teacher is just doing their best. And their best is good enough, honestly. I think these kids are getting what they need at the end of the day. So how has your experience seeing the kids, especially because you've seen them in, you know, different circumstances versus now, how do you think they've been responding differently? Do you think they've been, you know, maybe more excited about all the changes, or are they more anxious?
Right. That's such a crazy question to think about, because with my grade level, especially at kindergarten, a lot of them are just getting started. So it really varies on the grade level. I know that some of the teachers at my school who deal with like the upper elementary, the more intermediate, and the middle school, there's a lot more of an emotional struggle. Whereas some of my little ones, they don't know any different yet. This is all they know. As far as they know, this is school. Like, this is what it's like. They don't have anything to compare it to. But, you know, they want to make their friends. They want to meet each other. And they, you know, ask, when can we come back? When can we come back?
Right.
And with my last group, my first kindergarten class that I had, that when we, in that spring, when it all happened, it was really, really hard for some of them. Like, they were just like, what's going on? What's happening? Like, what is this? Like, why can't we come back? When do we come back? And then I would just say it's so different, especially for each little one. There are some who, you know, they were loving that time being at home. And then there are some who are more scared. And then there are some who are like, I just miss my friends. I want to come back. And that's not even trying to introduce them to, all right, this is how you mute. Find the button like this. It looks like this, holding up pictures for it. Like, that's just a whole other ball game right there.
Oh my God. I'm so like obsessed with watching all of the TikToks and all of the videos of like how different teachers are like going out of their way to make it like as engaging and as digestible as I possibly can. What's been like the hardest part of that? Just like,
I would say, yeah, trying to keep their focus. I'm actually very, very fortunate. My admin did an amazing job helping us create schedules to go by, and they believe that the kids, especially the little ones, should not be on more than 30 minutes at a time. So just trying to keep that like focus there, even for 30 minutes, like for a 5-year-old, that's hard. It's hard for me sometimes.
For me, yeah.
So like just trying to keep it as engaging, where normally in kindergarten we might be sitting on the carpet and, you know, we'd be doing centers where they're getting up and moving around and like grabbing things, touching things, playing with things. And now it's like, okay, we can't really do it this way. How are we going to make it virtual? But still trying to give them that experience and make it fun for them, and not just me talking to them for 30 minutes and they just sit and listen. So that has been tricky. And I feel like I'm coming up with new ideas, and I'm taking ideas that I see, whether it's on Instagram or TikTok or from other friends, taking some ideas, trying it out and saying, okay, that didn't work. Let's try tweaking it here. And I kind of tell them too, I'm like, we're going to try this. We're going to see if this works. Fingers crossed. And if it works and they love it, great. Let's keep doing it. Let's try this again. And if it doesn't, it's like, you know what? I'm sorry, guys. We tried it. It didn't really work out. We'll try again next time.
Totally. Absolutely. Do you ever, I think because you have to be so, I mean, truthfully, there's no other way but to be so animated with them to keep their spirits alive. Do you ever feel like when you get out of teacher mode, you kind of have to like, shut off a bit?
Oh my gosh. I think there was definitely one point. So we record all of our meetings, you know, in case they miss anything. And so they're all recorded. And I will physically go and stop record sometimes, because like I let them stay, if it's the end of the day especially, and there's not another one that's starting after, I'll let them stay on. They can talk to me, ask questions, you know, show me their wiggly teeth, all those important things that we got to cover. And then I'll stop recording and just, okay, we did it. We made it through another day. And there was one point where I forgot to hit stop, and I just went, all right. And then like I sent the recording, and the parent was like, I feel the same way by the end of it. Like, I'm just like, I'm sorry. My bad. But definitely.
Oh my gosh. And I think that brings up the most important point, which is that you guys are heroes. You guys are the heroes of our society. I mean, there's a lot of people that are putting on heroic roles for sure, but like you guys are doing such an important dharma. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why you think that I think our society especially, but globally, teachers are undervalued. But I just want to really solidify the point that you guys are shaping the future with every kid that you shape and that you mold. You know, just as adults, I think we can all think back to certain teachers that we had that played a vital role in our own personal development and who we are. And so what do you think is the most important thing that you want whatever kid and student that you're touching, what do you want them to take away from their time with you? You know, aside from like textbook lessons, just like what is something that you really want to help shape them into?
So I genuinely believe, and I say this all the time, they hired me and my job description says that I will teach them how to read, I will teach them how to count, I teach them how to add, you know, to identify a community, things like that. I teach them the standards. That's what they hired me to do. But if by the time they leave my classroom, if they're a little more confident, a little more curious, a little more like compassionate, then I did my job. That's what we're really there to do. Is we're there to be there to support them. We're there to teach them and guide them, but it's so much more than just that. And that's what you don't get from the textbook all the time. You can find ways to weave it in, and there are some educators who've put together some amazing like ideas to work with that. And you really just have to get in there and you have to meet your students, like get to know them, let them get to know you, let them see you as a real person and you see them as a real person. Build those relationships, and that just makes so much of a difference. It really does. And encouraging them, uplifting them, supporting them, and helping outside of not just like, oh, they're still not understanding their letter sounds. Of course we work on that, but hey, I noticed you're feeling really sad today. Do you want to stay on a little bit longer and talk to me? Like, you know, why are you feeling sad? What's going on? You know, spending that time to go deeper, that social emotional depth that they need. And some of them might not be getting it at home. You might be the only person that says that I love you to them that day. And you gotta make those connections and help them be that way to others.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I think of every teacher, and I'm sure most of them do, because I think it's such a generous line of work, but I think everyone is having that same mindset. And I think within that we can create an emotionally stable generation, an emotionally intelligent generation that communicates and sees the humanity in each other, which I think is how we heal the world. But, you know, we'll see. But it's because of people like you, so thank you, honestly. And so why do you think it is that on that level, people don't see the value in teachers, or you guys aren't tangibly valued? Because it just doesn't make any sense to me, like on a human level, truthfully.
You know, I wish I knew what it was. I think for some reason, it's been like ingrained in society's like idea that a teacher is like a babysitter, that, you know, we kind of have it easy, you know, like if I get home from a stressful day, like this isn't necessarily my personal case, like I have a amazing support system that has done nothing but supported my dream and decision, because I wasn't originally going for education when I did my undergrad. I made that change in career paths later, when after I graduated, I had a degree in international relations and ethnic studies, and I chose to go back and pursue education, and they were so supportive, even though like knowing that it wasn't going to be, you know, the big bucks, and it's not the most respected career choice by society, by some people. They have just been so amazing about it, and I'm very fortunate. But, you know, if I were to come home from a stressful day, you know, sometimes people just think like, oh, how hard could it have been? You did the alphabet today, or you counted to 10, and they don't realize everything that's underneath, like what we were just talking about, that social emotional growth. And during regular times or like pre-COVID times, that's a better saying, before, like in pre-COVID times, you know, teaching those social skills that kids need to pick up, like sharing, taking turns, learning how to communicate with each other, taking turns in conversation. And even when I get home, like there's still work to do. I might have left the classroom physically, But now I have to go through assessments. I have to look at the standards. I have to do meetings for students who might have speech like challenges or behavioral challenges. It carries over so much more. And I think they also see like, oh, you get summers off. And it's like, technically, but we're still working. Like we're still on the clock. We're just not in the classroom with the students right now, but we're working.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So I think the first step is just changing the dialogue and changing the narrative. And, you know, teachers are not babysitters. Like they're literally, they're shaping the future. I just don't know how else to say it. But how can the community better support teachers? Not even just, you know, the people who higher up who need to be paying more, but like how can parents of your students, how can friends of teachers, how can we better support you guys?
You know, what means the most to me too, and actually it happened just this week when I was leaving, because we have the option right now. We're still full virtual, which I'm very, very thankful for. We're still full virtual, and but we have the option to teach from our classroom, or we can work from home, whichever we prefer. I like to be in my classroom because I feel that gives me more balance. Like, okay, when I'm in the classroom, I'm Miss Hernandez, but once I get to go home, I can be Marissa. I can like recharge myself and fill my cup again and breathe deeply and like, okay, let's reflect now and get ready. So it helps me turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off.
Right.
You know, I feel like the off is never really off. But when I was leaving, there was actually a parent, not even in my class. I don't know this parent. I never worked with one of her children, but she was picking up something from her classroom and she actually stopped me and just said, I just have to tell you, you are rocking it. You're doing amazing. And we see that. Like, thank you, you know, so much. Like those kids love you. And just like hearing something like that, like, you know, take the time and thank them, like genuinely give a thank you, not just because like, oh yeah, like it's crazy, thanks for all you're doing, but like, you know, recognize what we're doing. And please don't complain when we ask for pencils. Like, if you could please donate pencils, please give us pencils. We need the pencils, or we need tissue, you know, just not fighting back and understanding that if we come to you more with like, I don't want to say criticism, but if we want to reach out about your child, like if we notice a concern that we want to help with, don't take it the wrong way. Like, don't think we're against each other now, that we are on opposite sides. No, we're there. We are on your team. This is why we're bringing it up. We bring it up because we care. We want to help. We want to do all that we can. And I think that's the most heartbreaking thing, is like when parents feel like we're not on the same page and like we're on oppositions. And I just, it makes me so nervous sometimes, because I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, no. It was not meant to be taken that way. I just want to help. I love your child so much. I want to do all that I can while they're with me. Like, let me help.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I didn't even think about like that perspective or having to deal with that, because I think people can so quickly get so defensive if they feel like, especially having to do with their child. But I mean, the truth is that there needs to be this emphasis on the unity and on the fact that we are all on the same side, and we need to be helping each other with tangible goods like pencils and tissues and whatever teachers need right now. Absolutely. Please donate. But also just with like the emotional affirmation and like reaffirming that like absolutely you are doing an incredible job. And just as society, I'll speak for us when I say that we are also grateful, even if it isn't expressed enough, which it needs to be. But you're seen and you're recognized. Absolutely. And so my final question is that I think you spend so much energy teaching these kids and forming these kids. Is there any lesson that you take away that maybe your students have taught you, just like being around these like pure little beings all day, who are probably like also insane and like hard to tame, but kids are kids, you know?
Oh my gosh. Oh yes. Also too, I just realized there was one more thing I want to say too on like, please. In terms of what more. Please understand if we do not email back within an hour or on the weekends or whatever. Like,
you're human.
We're human too. Like, yes, we want to do all that we can, but we are also human beings with our own families and our own personal life that does need some attention. That's one more thing. And my parents were really great. And I set that boundary. I said, please allow 24 hours before you get a response. If you send something on the weekend or Friday evening, I will get back to you on Monday. That was just one more thing right there, because I think sometimes people forget that, yes, we are people, we have our own lives, and we have families as well that we want to give time to. Yes, my students teach me every single day, and I like to tell them that too. Like, if they like, even just like small things, like I had one student who loves dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are a real hot topic in kindergarten, always, every year. It's a trend. And I had this one, and he would just come and he would be like, did you know? And I would always say, I'm like, no, I didn't know that, you taught me. But even more than that too, and this is actually something, and I know like all teachers do this, but reflection is so huge, not just for students, but for us as well. Right. Look at what I look at the lessons I taught my first year compared to now, and when I was student teaching, and even before that, like times when I was in the classroom, I look at my first lessons I taught and I just think like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Why would I try to do this? Or my expectations were, I was expecting like high school level from like a third grader. Like, why would I, like, you know, kind of reflecting myself and like looking at what my students bring to the table, giving them a voice in the classroom and letting them feel like this is your space too. This isn't just Miss Hernandez's classroom. This is our classroom. This is our space. If you have questions, I want you to ask. If you're confused, I want you to say it. If you have an idea, share it. Let's open it up for everyone, because they will amaze you. And there were times too where I thought like, oh, this would be too much. This might be a little too much for them. But it's not. You can go there with them, like walk through it with them, make it an experience for both of you. When I first decided to start implementing more like culturally inclusive lessons, I know some people were like, oh, isn't that kind of, my grandpa was actually sitting next to me one time when I was putting together my Hispanic Heritage Unit, and was like, are they going to understand that? Because I was like listening to a video on Cesar Chavez and pulling pieces out. And he's like, will they understand that? And I was like, yeah, they will. And you know what? We're going to stop it in the middle. We're going to talk about it. And we're going to make connections. We're going to help them connect and understand, like, why is it important what happened here? And, you know, don't think like they're 5, they can't do it. Or September 11th is going to be too heavy for them. Or we can't talk about Christopher Columbus like in actual light, like, you know, we got to keep it let's make it. And you know, he sailed the ocean blue, and it's like, you know, he wasn't always the nicest guy. Some people make bad choices. Let's look at what happened. What do you guys think? Should we celebrate Columbus Day, or should we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day? Giving them their voice, allowing them to make their own decisions. They can do it. They can do so much more than we probably think, because we think, oh, they're just babies. And it's like, no, but they are capable little ones, and they got this.
Oh my gosh. There's so much value in what you just said. And I think that connects to what you said earlier, which is just like seeing them as humans and like valuing them as humans, and not just like little, you know, like pieces of Jello. Like they can actually like process things. And I think they can process much more than we that we believe, as long as we are packaging it in a way that makes sense, that connects to how their world is for them right now. So
exactly,
I think you're doing an incredible job. And just like hearing you speak, I'm like, it's so weird, this like situation that I'm having right now, where I'm like feeling the way I was when I was in elementary. And it's like, I know that you would have been my favorite kind of teacher, genuinely, because like your warmth and just who you are is like, I'm just so grateful that you're doing what you're doing. And so is there any last words on what being a teacher is like for you that you would want the world to know, or anything?
You know, like I said, when I first started looking for my career path, I was going a different route at first, and I found teaching later, and then made that choice to go back. And I might have been like other people. I might have been naive and thinking like, oh, you know, I want to be a teacher now, I'm just going to switch over. It's hard. It's so much work. And I think that that's a whole different topic, but I think some of the requirements to be a teacher are insane. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. There's so many hoops to go through. There's so much tests. There's so much money you have to pay, but it's hard. If you want to be a teacher, you know it, like you have it in you, like it's a feeling, like I don't even know how to explain. It's like a calling. It really is. Like,
yeah.
You get in that classroom and you're just like, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do with my life. I'm supposed to be in here, you know, with these little ones. And even though it's hard, and even though there's definitely trying moments, there are days where I cry. Like, I'm just like, did I do enough? Like, where did I go wrong here? What could I have done instead? And, you know, it gets overwhelming. And at the end of the day, I still can't imagine doing anything else. Like, I wake up happy to go to work. I wake up feeling so fulfilled. And when I, like, right now, when I log into my Zooms and I just see their little smiles and they're just saying, like, I love you, I missed you. It's like, all right, let's go. Let's do this, guys. We're in it. We're in it together. And I think that's just it. Like, you know, we are on the same team. We're here. We are working hard. We're human. But, you know, we're not doing it for money. We're not doing it for fame. We're truly doing it because we love what we do.
Oh my gosh. This is like filling my soul so much, especially because one of my favorite teachers from my childhood was also named Miss Hernandez. And like,
are you serious?
Yes. And I'm going to tag her on Facebook when I share this. So I'm very
I love it.
But like, genuinely just, I'm so grateful that you exist, and I'm so grateful that you said yes to your calling and to your purpose, and know that you are changing the world. And maybe seem like, especially when we do our dharmas, we think that maybe we're in smaller communities, and so we're only, you know, affecting a small portion, but it trickles out. It really does. And with every energetic shift that you employ, you're changing the collective and you're changing this world that we're living in. And I'm so grateful for you, and I'm so thankful. I'm gonna link all of your stuff, like Wholehearted Teaching, and I'm strongly encouraging any viewer who wants to support you to go ahead and find you online and donate and do whatever it is, or just send words of encouragement. But otherwise, thank you so much, Marissa Hernandez.
Thank you so much for having me on here. I love talking about this stuff. I could do it all the time. Yeah. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my voice and what reach I have with your reach.
Oh, girl, of course. It's so valuable, Queen. Your voice is everything. But yeah, otherwise, you can check this out on YouTube, on streaming platforms, on Instagram, and yeah. Thank you for listening.